how this one piece of knowledge made us £50,000. Let me give you a breakdown of the story behind this, and at the end of the video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to find this information and how you can make the money too. This property is in the Northeast. If you watch any of my videos, you know I don't invest in the Northeast. On long-term investments. As you know, my primary strategy, you might not know, is boring, vanilla, buy-to-let properties predominantly in West and South Yorkshire. And the reason for that is I believe in the long-term capital growth. I genuinely believe for the next 10 years at least, it is the single best area to invest. And then after that, I'll reassess the situation. Who knows? It could be Newcastle's the best place to invest after that. We'll see. But for shorter term investments, I still have my fundamentals in the fact that a shit area is a shit area and I won't invest in a shit area. But if it's a solid, higher value area, I'm happy to do stuff like flips or trades. And this property was a trade. Just so you understand what a trade is, kind of like a flip, but on a flip, you buy it, refurbish it and sell it on. And on a trade, you can buy it and then sell it on straight away because you've captured some value in the middle. Make sense? Well, it will do in a second. So this particular property was bought by one of our mentees, Andrew and Dawn, who are a couple. They are on our academy, the Elite Property Trading Academy. A lot of you already know this, but I have an education company as well as my portfolio building company. It's Aspire Education, and we train people on how to do this on way bigger depth. So something you might not know is our high-level academy members, I actually fund their deals as well. So this was part of their training to find something called short lease opportunities. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But let me talk through the numbers. This property was Rowan Grove in the Northeast, and it's worth around 200,000, give or take. That was the RICS valuation. RICS is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, so it's an official valuation, not an estate agent going, yeah, I think it's worth this. They thought it was worth 210 to 220,000. Maybe 210. 220 is way too ambitious. That's typical estate agent tactics. But we got them doing a virtual valuation or a automatic valuation because we don't really want them going in the property and stealing the deal. Not that I don't trust every single person I work with, but when money is on the table, it's good to be protective. Top tip to throw in here, by the way, if you are showing people around a great deal but they haven't put money down, get them to sign an NDA/NCA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, but more importantly, the non-circumvention agreement, and it stops them from cutting you out, and you'd be able to take them to small claims court and claim 100% of your profits up to, I think it's 15,000, might be a little bit higher now, but good tip, get them to sign something, even if you do trust them. So as I said, this was a £200,000 property. It was a 5-bed detached property, which in my opinion is not what you would look out for a long-term rental. And to give you an idea, I'd say 95% of my purchases are long-term rentals. I make my money through the education company, my property trading business, and my portfolio building service. And then I get all of that money and I plow it into the long-term investments. But as I said, when an opportunity comes up, I will snap it up. And we actually managed to secure this for 150,000. So if something's worth 200,000 all day long, how did we get it for 150? So the owner of this property is an old business owner and got to a certain age where he's just selling the business, selling off parts of the portfolio, and then fully retiring. Now, again, for me, I think it was a smart move him selling this property because he was using it as a rental, which is not the way to do things. Now, the thing is, it was getting sold at auction, but this is where valuable knowledge comes in that most people don't know about. And the first thing is the short lease factor. If you don't know this, when a property is leasehold, which up in the Northeast, a lot of houses are leasehold, which is incredibly weird. When it's got a short lease, anything below like 70, 75 years, it starts to get harder to get a mortgage. And the reason for that is when it gets to the end of that lease length, the freeholder has a lot of power, i.e. you have to pay a ridiculous sum to get the lease extended. And if you don't, the freeholder can claim the rights to the property and take it under their ownership. Quick lesson on freehold versus leasehold. Freehold is nothing to do with the property as such. It's to do with the ground and the air above it. So a freehold is you own the property, but you also own the ground that it sits on and the air above it. If it's a leasehold, you own the property, but you don't own the ground below it or the skies above it. And so what that means is you're paying ground rent and sometimes a service charge. The ground rent is you paying a rent or a lease to the freeholder so that you can have access to your property by going on their land. Make sense? And at the end of it, if you don't pay the lease extension, you have to claim it. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that if you buy a property and you go, I'll just extend the lease. Well, first of all, that would cost you about 25, 30,000 on this property. So automatically that's down to 170 grand. But also you would need to own the property for 2 years. Now, doesn't sound great at the moment, does it? But there's 2 little hacks that you need to know. Number 1 is Section 42. Never heard of it? That's okay. Section 42 is something like a loophole in the lease extension world. So what you can do is you can get the vendor, the current owner of the property looking to sell, to start something called the lease extension process. And it all starts with a Section 42. Doesn't cost them anything, but by starting that process, you can then purchase the property and then start extending the lease immediately. So that is tip number 1. If you've got a lease extension opportunity where you can extend the lease and add a load of value to the property, get them signing a Section 42 with the freeholder, starts the process, and you don't need to wait 2 years. But it gets better. So the next tip I always give people is to stalk the vendor. This is a lot easier when you're using software such as property data. I'll put a link below so you can check that out, by the way. I think you get the premium feature for free if you go through that link for a month or so. But we use that data to understand where and who the property owner is. If they own the property in a company, it's a lot easier because you can search the company, you can find out a number if they're an operating business, you can call them up and dig deep into it. Now, what we actually did is this property wasn't owned by a company, it was owned by the individual. We ended up stalking on social media, found the individual, did some investigating and found out that they were also the freeholder of the property. Which is very weird for a property to be a leasehold and then the owner also owns a freehold. What's even stranger is they didn't know they were the owner of the freehold. What? How the fuck does that happen? But anyway, good news for us, because this property was sold at auction. And at auction, you have auction terms, which means that when you buy it, you've got 28 days to complete a majority of the time. And this was one of those situations. So everyone else went into that opportunity thinking it's just a leasehold property. You're going to have to factor in the lease extension of the property. And so really, they would have to be bidding up to 130, 100, maybe a bit more, but let's call it 130 grand to make it a worthwhile investment. Now, on our side, we knew that he was the freeholder. We got in touch with him, told him that we were interested in buying it, but would he include the freehold? To be honest, if he was, he could easily get another 50,000 on top. But because he said yes, and it was only a last minute announcement in the auction, we ended up managing to buy that property with the freehold at 150k. So we managed, because it is a property trade, we've got a property trade exemption. It means we didn't have to pay stamp duty on it either, because there's a stamp duty exemption with that. And we put about 4,000 in. So overall, we made about £40,000 profit. So it's a great example there of how knowledge really is everything in property. So we spotted an opportunity, and being honest, it wasn't us that spotted it. It was Andrew and Dawn, our mentees on that. They spotted the opportunity. They applied their knowledge to the opportunity, investigated the source, and then with the Section 42 knowledge and the fact that we negotiated the freehold in there, we got a £50,000 spread. And after all costs, we funded the deal. By the way, that's what we do with our mentees. They found the deal and we made £20,000 a piece. So not too bad. If you're watching this, by the way, and you're thinking, damn, that sounds like a good deal, I'd love to learn how to do that more, and I like the idea of spending Jamie's money, great news, you can be involved too. If you're actually ready to invest in yourself, and this isn't a hard pitch, we don't really do that at Aspire. If you watch this for a while and you're thinking, this is a guy I want to learn from Jamie and the team at Aspire, put education in the comments right now, and we will reply with a link We'll put the link in the comments and put it to the top as well. Click on the link, fill in your details, and we can have a one-to-one strategy session completely free, by the way, where the worst case is you come out with some strategic steps so you can start making more money in property. And the best case for us is that you decide you want to work with us, you want to invest in yourself, and we can talk about what that would look like. As I said, if that sounds like you, put education in the comments. And let me know, by the way, real deals like this, do you find value in them? Do you want me to do more videos with real deals? Let me know in the comments. Ultimately, I love doing these videos, but the channel's for you, not me. And I want to add as much value as possible. So we've got hundreds of deals we can be sharing on a yearly basis. So we could do a few every single month. If you want us to do more, let me know in the comments. By the way, if you're new to the channel and you want to actually learn from somewhere, there's no hard pitches on this channel. It is just free value from somebody that is doing millions a year doing the things that I'm actually training you on. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And of course, if you've got 2 seconds, it really does help. Tap that like button and I'll see you in the next video.